As HR, talent, and people leaders, we fully understand that performance is made up of two things: ability and motivation. But what do you do when you are dealing with performance that has slipped and you're not quite sure why? They were effective before, and for some reason, their performance has been less than stellar. You want to start by setting up time with them to have a discussion to learn what is driving this slip in performance. Before sitting down with them, really investigate and verify that performance has indeed slipped. If your expectations have increased, that doesn't mean their performance has slipped. It's just that what you expect from them has changed. It's okay to level up the expectations over time, particularly with your legacy talent. However, you must be sure your team understands and are bought in to the new expectations. In front of you are 5 most common tactics and interventions to take when dealing with regressive performance. The first one, tools and resources. Is the person lacking the proper tools to do their job effectively? If so, you want to ask questions around, do they have the necessary equipment, supplies, and the environment? Whenever you're meeting with your team members, get in the habit of asking if they have all the necessary tools and resources that they need to be successful. As a reminder, you as their leader are a tool and a resource to them. Ask them what it is you can be doing to aid in their success. The workforce has changed, and as such, your talent may require more flexibility when it comes to doing their job. You also want to step in when necessary to remove barriers to their success. In having a one-on-one discussion with your team member, you might find that another team is completely hindering them in their ability to be successful. Depending on their style, you may need to intervene directly or provide them with a strategy on how to overcome this barrier. Investigate if a lack of proper tools and resources is actually a barrier to their success. By now, we have all heard the slogan, trust but verify. Give people the space to share with you why they are struggling. Yet be sure what they are telling you is the problem is actually the problem. Our second tactic or intervention when dealing with regressive performance is training. When you think about training, you really want to understand, has any systems, technology, or processes changed and they are struggling to keep up with those updates? Individuals need ongoing training and development to help them become more effective. Your workplace and really the world is ever changing, and that requires gaining new knowledge, skills, and abilities to remain effective. Technology has really altered how we approach doing things. Keeping up with new technology is a skill all by itself. You then want to ask yourself, has your business changed? Is the business in high growth mode? Have you introduced new products? All of these things require your talent to continue to evolve. Both your organization and you as a leader play a role in providing training to your people. Never forget that. However, neither is responsible for doing the work, only the person. But you are responsible for providing the avenue for them to gain that new learning. Let's look at our third tactic and intervention, reclassify. When you think about reclassifying, you might want to ask yourself the question, is it time for the individual to step into a new role? Their passion and motivation could have changed, and it's time to consider reclassifying their job. Whenever reclassifying a person's job, you want to make sure there is a need for what it is they will be doing. Reclassifying is about leveraging the person's skills and abilities and retaining those skills, while also meeting a business need. You also want to be sure the person is still feeling challenged and stimulated. Even in their new role, peak performance is still expected. Our fourth tactic that we can consider when coaching for regressive performance is mentorship and sponsorship. Remember, when it comes to developing talent, it does really take a village. As leaders, no one wants to assume that the problem could be our leadership style. The assumption is our team members must adapt to our style, and that just isn't true. You want to investigate if the slip in performance has anything to do with you. Was the person performing just fine before you became their leader? Their slip in performance can be due to your style as a leader. Are you micromanaging them? Are you demotivating? I have met very few leaders who can meet the needs of everyone that reports to them, and that's okay. That is exactly why you should be leveraging others in the organization to provide support and guidance to your team members, just as you would provide support and guidance to their team members. Last but not least, the fifth tactic or intervention, which is typically the most uncomfortable intervention for people leaders: release. When you have tried everything else and nothing is working, you might have to consider releasing the team member. No one sets out to fire people. Not HR, not talent, and not people managers. However, after you have tried every intervention and nothing is improving their performance, the final intervention that you have to consider might be release. At this point, staying on staff is more likely causing pain for quite a few people. The employee is feeling the pain. You're feeling the pain. The organization is feeling the pain. And so are the other team members that are on your team. The employee is feeling pain because they are constantly being ridden by you. You are spending a lot of time and resources focused on an employee that is still not delivering. That is time you are not spending on your other team members, specifically your high performers. Also, your leadership could be challenged by this inaction. Again, to reiterate, when working for a business, our role exists to add value to the organization, meaning to the P&L. If we retain even one person on our team that does not contribute to that value, we are harming the organization. So now let's think about some coaching tips we may use to follow up on poor performance. First and foremost, you want to ensure that you have gathered sufficient evidence of demonstrated behaviors and results of poor performance. Okay, that can be direct observations of when you have firsthand witnessed poor performance or bad behavior. You want specific work results, reports, and records. Again, you want data to support what you're saying. You could also use feedback that has been shared by others. But remember, if you are delivering this discussion to your team member, you have to be sure that the feedback that you were given by other people is legitimate feedback. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that's delivering the conversation. The second tip is review the initial discussion around poor performance. What did you guys discuss? Where were they performing poorly? You do want to commend any progress that was made by the employee in demonstrating the new desired behavior, as well as on their development or their performance improvement plan. Because remember, we are dealing with regressive poor performance. So at some point, they were struggling to perform and then they got better. The third tip is engage the employee in the discussions about why an improvement in behavior may still be insufficient, and look for the reasons why they are still struggling to maintain consistent performance. Also, describe again in detail the desired behavior and when and how it should be exhibited. Continually check in with the employee to ensure that they have all of the support and resources that they believe necessary to help them change their behavior. Also, you might consider engaging some other partners as needed. You also want to discuss the consequences of continued poor performance. Specifically, before we get to our last intervention of release. Last but not least, continuously communicate your confidence in the team member and your support of their development. While still communicating, they must lead the change for improved performance.